10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 6, 6.
Salve, salve pessoal, firmeza? Começando mais uma externa aqui do Loudness, ao lado de Gustavo Alves, nosso colaborador. E claro, né? Welcome to Brazil, the Demolition Man.
Hey, welcome. Hi. Welcome to São Paulo, you crazy bastards. Nice to see you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for having me.
You live in São Paulo now?
I shouldn't live in São Paulo. I think I do live in São Paulo now. But I have São Paulo on my skin, so it's in my heart. But yeah, I've been here for the whole week. I missed Carnival by 1 day, so I'm gutted. But yeah, it's muito lindo, São Paulo, Brazil, for many years in my heart. So,
Ok, man.
Então, a gente estava falando, ou você já tem uma relação de mais de 15 anos com São Paulo. Começou com 2010, quando você veio a primeira vez com o Impaled Records. Você até falou que ficou hospedado aqui perto. E vai até hoje, em 2026, que você tocou semana passada na Bunny House junto com Loudness e Forbidden. Como que começou essa paixão com o Brasil, especialmente São Paulo, que você terminou com a tatuagem que você tem no teu braço?
when I was at school, my journey with Brazil is when I was at school, about 14 years old, 15, we had a lesson for an hour. They said, oh, just read a book. And I come from industrial part of England. We built ships and coal, so very grey, very wet, very boring. And I looked at the books, and they had these yellow books, the National Geographic. So there were subjects from everything all over the world. So I just pulled one out, and on the front was Carnival in Rio. And I was like, what the fuck is that? So I was looking, and the more I looked at Brazil, and all of the colors and the food and the people and the animals and the Amazon, I was like, wow. So I read this book for an hour. And then at the end of the class, our teacher said to everybody, so what do you want to do when you leave school? And then it got to me, Tony, what do you want to do when you leave school? And I went, I want to go here. And they went, that's Rio de Janeiro. Yes. No, I mean for work, what do you want to do? I don't care. I want to go here. And they went, okay, he's loco. And so my passion was to get to Copacabana Beach and to Rio. And that was always my intention. And the first time I got to Rio, I went onto the sand and I stood looking at Ipanema and Sugarloaf Mountain and said, I'm here. And that was my ambition, to be in Brazil. And from that moment on, I fell in love with Brazil. And then to go to Curitiba, Porto Alegre, Fortaleza, and of course São Paulo. I just fell in love with Brazil, with the people, the food, the rain, the sunshine, the girls, obviously the girls, yeah. But yeah, the most beautiful people, sense of community, sense of oneness, and to have the privilege to come to then share music with those people is incredible. And you know, you mentioned Burning House. We played just on Sunday with Forbidden Violence, and it was an incredible show. But I saw new fans, young fans, and friends that have been seeing at the same shows and visiting, having barbecue with for 30 years now. And so it's like coming home every time I come. And tomorrow I leave, and I already feel sad that I'm leaving. So I want to come back as soon as I can, you know. And the reason I have this is to remember Brazil with me everywhere I am in the world. And every time I go to anywhere on the planet, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Russia, if I see a Brazilian, the first thing they say is, can I see your tattoo? They want to see the tattoo. Oh my God, he has got a tattoo. So yeah.
No Uber, você falou que tá morando em Portugal. É Portugal? Sim, né? Trabalhando em Portugal, né?
Sim.
Já pensou em morar aqui no Brasil?
I did work in Portugal and I had to learn Portuguese. I'm not speaking much Portuguese because it's not so good, but I entend quite a lot. But I fala is not so good. But But Portugal, I love Portugal, the food and the climate, but the beautiful scenery, yes, it's very all cultural, with a very cultural, but you have that in São Paulo, you have that influence, but it's very different to Brazil. The language has an accent, so it's like Quebecois or French. It's very different. Americans, English, the same language, but lots of very...
The people in Brazil is my heart.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. But, you know, when you go to a village, Mantis lives in a village called Toma in the middle of Portugal, and nobody speaks English, but they're all welcoming and like family orientated. And when I come to Brazil, there's a sense of community with the people. Some people are very poor, some people are rich, some people are powerful, some people are not powerful. But I never felt a non-sense of community in the whole place. You know, you care about each other. You care about Brazil. It has its problems, of course. Where in the world doesn't have its problems, you know? People say, you know, it's dangerous in São Paulo. Okay, well, it's dangerous where I live. You know, so it's like, you know, they'll steal your phone. They steal your phone where I live. They rob you where I live. You know, it's like it's no different. We're just people at the end. We're humans. And when I've been gracious to Brazilians, everywhere in Brazil, they've been from Florianopolis to, you know, everybody is gracious. Everybody welcomes you. And I love that. And so I think there's a difference between Portugal and Brazil, but there's the same sense of community and family and friendship. And that's what I taste.
Você disse pra gente mais cedo que vocês fizeram, o Venom Inc fez uma sessão ao vivo na Kiss FM, na segunda-feira. Como que foi essa sessão? Como é que foi o convite? Se vocês pretendem lançar isso no material físico ou digital?
Yeah, we were invited to go to do a session at Kiss FM, just us. So we went on after the show. We went on Monday, and you know, we were very tired because I think I hadn't properly slept for 3 days. We'd done the show. We had a very good party, which ended a day or two. So we were all quite tired. But we did the session with the idea of play a few songs and then do an interview. And then they said you could play as many songs as you want. So we played 5 songs. We had time restriction. And then we had an interview with some beautiful Brazilian barbecue and amazing sausages and steak. And then I thought, well, you know, I was very tired. We were all quite tired. So maybe it sounded okay. But we'll have a listen and see what we think, because we can re-record if we had to. But then I heard the drums mix, and then they put everything else on, and I thought, oh my God, it sounded incredible. So I said, so what happens now? And they said, well, we broadcast on Kiss FM, and then we show the record, we put it on YouTube so people can see you guys and cut in with the interview. But it sounded so good. I thought, you know, I've been talking to Eric de Haas about releasing something special for Brazil, and I listened to this and went, this is what I should release. So I'm gonna talk to Eric de Haas. We'll release it on a special vinyl, a colored vinyl. The vinyl will be green with a yellow center, Brazilian colors, and it'll be specifically for Brazil. But I want to do it in vinyl. And then we'll put it on digital, and then we'll put it on CD if fans want to get it on CD. And, you know, I want, because there's an argument between vinyl and digital. And I prefer touching, you know, I prefer tangible with the vinyl. There's something amazing about it, and you feel closer to the product, closer to the band. And CDs are great too. Look, we're surrounded. I love CDs. But there's something special about vinyl. But once you get to digital format, it's like it's over there. You can't get to it. Yeah, I mean, it sounds okay, but so I want people to have something they can hold in their hands, and it's special with their names on it. You know, that's what I want. And so for me, it's about having access. But if the only way someone can get the music is on their phone because they can't afford to, you know, buying the album or whatever, because it can be expensive. And if you're importing, it's even more expensive too. I couldn't tell you what songs we play. I'd have to kill you if I told you. Now, I can't tell you what songs because I want it to be special. You know, it's like It's like you telling me, you giving me a list of things you want for Christmas, and then me telling you which ones I got in. I want you to come down and open all the presents, hoping you got it. So I want to keep that surprise, because that's another thing with digital and social media. Let's say I play 20 shows. I play the first show and my set list is there. Everybody takes it. They put it on setlist FM or .com, or they send it on their thing. So everybody, the last show knows what songs we're going to play. So that's why I don't do that. The set I played in Chile was not the set I played in Peru, was not the set I played in Brazil. So you don't know what's going to happen. So I opened with Ave Satanis at this song. The next time I opened with something else. Here I opened with Witching Hour. So I was like, I don't want you to know what's going to happen, because I don't want to know what's going to happen. I want us to experience the event together. And because then it's special. It just happened like that. The next time we come, the next time we play, it won't be like the last time. It will be special again. And that's what I want to keep doing. So I kind of circumvent social media by trying to do different things. So yeah. But yeah, so the same thing with the songs. I don't want to tell everybody what songs are going to be there. I just wanted to know at the last minute, go, there you go. Oh shit. You know, and maybe they'll be disappointed because their favorite song isn't there, but that's okay. Maybe their favorite song is there. Yeah, so that's all I want to do.
Well, you were saying that Anders Kisser from Sepultura, guitar player from Sepultura, he has a radio show. Yes, on Sunday evening. And he said that we won't be able to stay there because these shadow problems.
Yeah. Yeah, he does have the show. Yeah, I heard about that. But, I mean, you never know. Like, in the future, maybe we'll do something cool, and that would be nice. But it would be good to be on his show and to be talking with him, because Sepultura is Brazil, isn't it? Sepultura represents Brazil. I think, we were speaking of the Brazilian bands from Brasilia. My question was, what bands came from Brasilia? Because I've never been to Brasilia. And then you were telling me all these bands. But I think on a world stage, where Sepultura was so important, was because they flew the flag for Brazil out of Brazil, like hugely. And the whole world accepted that. And it put the spotlight back on Brazil. And then, the Troops of Doom just been there with Alex K-Fire, it was a dear person, friend. But and looking around here, from Torture Squad to, Neville Chaos, Nervosa, Crypta now with Fernanda Lira. And Fernanda Lira, her father, I came to a show and he was her father. Yeah, so it's, the connection is there. Nervosa, I took them on tour with me. They had a bad experience with Kronos. So I took them on tour with me to say, I want to give you a good experience. And I looked after the girls. And now they're dear friends whenever I see them, So I think Sepultura opened that door for Brazilian bands and people to look at Brazil and go, oh yeah, they create incredible music. Yeah. And every country has a band that did that for them, Maybe Venom did that for the extreme bands in what Sepultura did for Brazil. Venom did for the UK, and Metallica and Slayer did for America. Metal Blade and Megaforce, John Suzula and Slagle. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have had those records. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have had those records. The world would not have known. We'd still be trading tapes and stuff. Neat records, Dave Woods. There would have been no Venom record if it wasn't for Dave Woods. So we honor the bands, but we must honor the people behind the bands. The journalists, the people making fanzines and spreading the word, the tape traders. They built our industry to what it is. Yeah. Important.
Você também falou em relação ao público, que você diz que tem aparecido público de todas as idades e principalmente um público novo, agora no Venom Inc. Pessoas que não conheciam o Venom direito, que conhecem as músicas do Venom Inc. Como que você vê esse fenômeno, essa situação?
I think it's very interesting because, as you said, you have people who are from back in the time who were there in '86, the first time Venom ever came to Brazil. And, and now you have young audiences who never heard that before. And I think our job is to keep creating new music as Venom Inc, but to keep reminding them there's a legacy that led us to this point. And lots of young fans come and just think we're the same thing. But that's great, because it's you know, everybody has a favorite singer, everybody has a favorite guitarist. You know, Iron Maiden was Paul Di'Anno, but for most it's Bruce Dickinson, Ronnie James Dio, Black Sabbath with Ozzy. You know, I mean, it goes on and on and on. But I think that what's important is the music, the legacy, that it keeps going as long as it can keep going. If I'm playing a club to 200 young fans, Kronos won't play that club. It won't say Mantis and Abaddon in that club. But if I can play that club, they can still hear that music. So I want them to hear the music they love. And if it's Welcome to Hell, or if it's Primeval, or if it's Temples of Ice, or if it's, you know, Venom Inc Beyond There's Only Black, or Arvir, or whatever it is, black metal, if that music speaks to them and hear, then that's worth carrying the legacy. And I choose the songs we play. I have a huge catalogue, but I don't choose the old songs of Kronos, Mantis and Abaddon. I play them when the fans ask me to. For example, we were on stage in Romania, and I was playing away, and my guitarist, Corin Murphy, came and said, should we play, with produced, and he said, should we play Don't Burn the Witch? And I looked at the set list, and it wasn't on the set list, and I said, no. So we played the next song. But then I was thinking, why did he ask me that? So after I played this song, I go, Corin, why did you ask me? And he said, because this young man in front of me, every time I get near him, holds his phone up, and he has Spotify, you Don't Burn the Witch. So I said, okay, let's play Don't Burn the Witch. So I introduced him. I said, this is for this kid here with the talent. And his eyes went like that, and he lost his mind. So, but I wasn't on that recording. That was them. And these guys weren't on that recording. But he didn't care who was on the recording. It's the song meant everything to him, and he got to hear it. And that's why I'm doing that. That's why I'm doing that. And people can criticize it if they want. Okay, don't come to the show then, if you feel. But I want to remind people that when you first bought an album and you took it to your house and you listened to it, the band was not sitting in your room. So you didn't know what they looked like, you didn't know who they were, you just had the music. And it was the music that spoke to you. Not some guy in a big house, not some guy driving a Mercedes, not some guy counting money with a cigar. Was just the music. So if you come to our show and you close your eyes and you feel the music, then I did my job. That's what I'm going for. Genuine, it has to be real. It has to mean something to me. And if it means something to me, it will mean something to you, I hope.
Em linhas gerais, você acha que o My Empire Evil evoluiu para o Venom Inc e acabou, como o Gustavo falou, conectando novas pessoas, ok? E para você, o que significou essa transição também? Não falando da garotada, mas sobre você naquele contexto daquela época.
Yeah, I guess Empire of Evil became something because Mantis called me and said, do you want to do some music again? And I kind of stopped doing it. I was acting in movies and on TV and working as a technician. But I was quite happy. I was making money, and I think I'm too old for that. So I thought it was all beyond it. But we talked, and I said, okay, well, if we do it, we have to do it until we die. I'm not stopping. So if we do it again, okay, I'll sacrifice everything, but I'm not going to stop doing it. He agreed to that. And we began Empire of Evil. And then Oliver Weishammer, who runs a festival in Germany called Keep It True.
To festival?
The Keep It True, yeah. And he saw me play Atomkraft show. He was there. And I got Mantis on stage at the end to play a couple of songs with me because he's my brother, and there he was. So, and then Oliver wrote to me after and said, I was at that show and it was great. I have his festival. If I book Empire of Evil to play the festival and I can get Abaddon to come, would you play some Venom songs for the fans? And I said, never gonna happen. because Mantis hates Abaddon. It's never going to happen. Yeah, but you can make it happen. I said, I don't think I could, Oliver. You could. I know you can make it. Please try and make it happen. So I did. Mantis was like, didn't want to do it. But I said, listen, it's 5 songs just for fans. We all fly in, we just play 5 songs, and then we all go home. We still are Empire of Evil. But my agent said to me, a manager, if you play this, you have to have a name for it. Because Mantis did not want people to think that Abaddon was part of Empire of Evil. So I was like, fuck, how am I gonna think of a name? So we were trying to come up with names, and then I came up with saying, we have to be Venom connected. So I said, what about Venom Incorporated? If we call ourselves Venom Incorporated, it means Venom is part of everything we do. So it isn't the main thing, but it's parts of us. So that was the idea of incorporating Venom into who we were. And then that was what it was gonna be. Then they sent me the t-shirts, and the t-shirts said Venom Inc. And I went, that says Venom Inc. And they went, yeah, I said, it's supposed to say Incorporated. And they went, yeah, but the word's too long, so we made it shorter. And that's why we're Venom Inc. So the transition, and it wasn't intentional. We didn't plan to do it. And no plan. And I said we played the show, it went online, it went viral. And then I got offers from all over the planet. Oh my God, you guys are gonna play shows, this is great. And I was like, no, we're not a band. This was just one thing. But it was interesting to me. So at breakfast the next day, I said to Mantis and Abaddon, listen, I'm getting all these offers. Do you want to tour? We could do like 12 months, 15 months, just do live shows. No albums, no politics, just go do live shows over the planet. And they both said, yeah, why not? So that's what we did. And less than a month later, we were in Japan. From that moment, and them us agreeing to do it only live, we were off on tour. And we played Australia, New Zealand, Tasmania, Malaysia, Singapore, everywhere, Canada, America, South America. It was amazing. And then John Suzula from Megaforce, who's always remained my friend, was still alive. Force record then, yeah. He was Megaforce. He had Metallica, and Magda has the leads Metallica. He was retired and living in Florida. But we'd speak all the time. I said, John, we're doing this thing. I said, Venom Inc. And he's like, yeah, I saw, that's great. And I said, yeah. He said, you should make a record. I said, no, I don't want to make a record. I said, but I need a manager. Would you come out of retirement? No, I'm not doing it anymore. And I was like, please, John, no. And I'd asked him before, and then eventually he agreed and told me I had to make a record. And at that point, we had Chuck Billy also managing us. So Chuck from Testament and John were both managing us. He said, you must make a record. And I said, if we tried to make a record, it will destroy this, because they will begin arguing about the music. They will begin arguing about the money, publishing, and that's what destroys Venom every time. I said, and I don't want to be part of that. I'm too old. I just want to play music to people. That's all I want to do. Keep it simple. Anyway, they convinced me to do some demos. So I spoke to Mantis and let's do some demos, and was sent to a record company. So John said, okay, who do you want me to send it to? I said, we're going to send it to one record company, just one. If they say no, that's it, no record, we just play live. Okay, and we sent it to Nuclear Blast, and they went, fantastic, make a record. And I was like, no! Bully. So now we had to make a record, and we made Out There. Yeah, but when we made that record, which was great, they started fighting. Mantis Abaddon. Abaddon isn't on the record because Mantis said he listened to all his drums, it was terrible. So it's all digital programmed on. And I thought, well, that's it. We're not going to last long because, they've started fighting already. And then Abaddon left. And that was 8 years ago, because we're 10 years old now. Venom Inc. is 10 years old. And so 8 years ago, Abaddon left. And then 2 years ago, Mantis left. And I was like, well, he didn't want to tour anymore. He had 2 heart attacks. And I thought, well, what do I want to do? I want to play live and I want to make more music and I want more young people to be introduced to this. And I want to be able to come to Brazil and go to Japan and go to China and go to Australia and play to fans. So I just continued and unfortunately I found Curran Murphy and
Você pretende fazer um álbum novo com essa formação atual do Venom Inc? Ou apenas tocar ao vivo mesmo?
yeah, well, I actually have an interesting season ahead because we've just done these shows. I have a live album which I was planning to release, which is from last season, 2 seasons ago with Possessed. I recorded every show and I put it into a live album, which I've been mixing. And it's kind of my way of saying thank you to Latam, to all the places we played. And it's only recordings from South America, from Latin America, every song we did. And that will go out in the beginning of the summer. And then at the end of the summer, I have the live album I was working on before that, which is from all over the planet. So every song we played from all over. In the meantime, we've got a mini album, which we're just doing the last 2 songs for. So that will go out round about after the second live album. And then the new album, which we've been working on, I've been writing, will go at the end of the year, so November, December. The new album will go out. At which point, and now this Kiss FM, I got to put that out too, so that will go out. So yeah, we got that's like 4 or 5 products this year we'll put out. And then I'm coming back down with the new album. I'll be coming back down with Venom Inc, hopefully in December, January. And I'm going to do 2 shows a night. So the same band, the same 3 of us, but I'm going to play an Atomkraft show and then have a band play and then play the Venom Inc show. And I'm going to play all the songs, some Venom songs that people want to hear, all the songs that we haven't played. So songs we haven't played, not, okay, we can play Black Metal, Canvas Mat 3 or RV or more, but I want to play all the songs we can't get to play. All the ones people go, I wish you could play that. I can come back and say, I'm only playing those songs. So play all the songs that people never heard but always wanted to hear live. So that will be at the end of the year, after the new album. So it's quite exciting, quite exciting.
Yeah. Eu acredito que todo mundo quer ouvir novas buscas do seu projeto, do que você está fazendo hoje. Mas voltando um pouco mais no passado, a Back to the Time.
Yeah.
Na época que os discos do Venom foi lançado contigo, né? Par Evil, a Temple of Rise, The Westlands, né? Mas parecia uma entre-safra na música pesada, na música extrema. E os mais novos naquela época estavam ouvindo ou produzindo músicas mais pesadas, como a garotada da Noruega, dos Estados Unidos, da Suécia. Como você lembra dessa época? Ou o Venom não se conectou tanto com essas pessoas ali naquela época?
Yeah, I think the thing is, it was a very strange time. And I think probably by 94, that's why I thought, okay, we have to have a rest. Because everything was changing. You know, we had the grunge in America, we had Britpop in Oasis, Blur, Nirvana, Pearl Jam. You know, the
grunge music.
Yeah, the whole grunge thing was changing everything, and we became small, this small, and I think a lot of bands stopped. But then, thankfully to Pantera, I think, yeah, and Mayhem, and all of a sudden those 2 things happening changed everything back. And that just, it just flew, it just grew so quick. But then all of those bands who had stopped all knew they could start again, and the scene was amazing. And I think through that period, I made a conscious effort to just go, we can't fight the industry. The fans weren't coming because you couldn't get shows. They weren't booking you for shows because they knew they could make money if they got a grunge band or a Britpop band, and so you couldn't get booked as a heavy metal show. And I thought, well, we'll never survive doing that. If we can't play music, and if we release music and get no coverage, then it's a waste of time. But everything comes back to there. Everything's cyclic, so I knew that if we just waited until it came back around again, then that would be our moment. And if we were still alive, if we weren't so old, we could do it again. And that's exactly what happened. I think Pantera made such, from the new metal thing,
A new UG Memorabilia.
yeah, because you had all, you had Limp Bizkit and all of that kind of stuff happening. And then kind of Pantera came through that. People thought it was kind of that, but then it wasn't. And it went like this, surpassed it. And then people could start to do that again. And even Metallica changed back from Load and Reload, and now you have the Black Album, boom, and then that was it. We're back on the world stage.
But you believe in Pantera split the fans' music?
Yeah. I mean, interesting with Pantera, yeah, there was a kind of split, but I mean, when Dimebag went on to do Damage Plan and all of that, everything was already rolling. So I think it had a massive impact, the band themselves. But even when they diversified, when they split themselves, you had down Phil, what Phil was doing himself, and then what Diamond and his brother were doing, Vinny were doing, so it actually you got more than just one thing. And you're looking back now to watch people that was Zach Wild with Rex and Phil and Charlie doing the Pantera thing. And people are, Pantera. I said, yeah, but, and they're going, well, there's only two guys that were in Pantera. And I said, yeah, but it's still the music. Stop thinking about the people. I don't give a fuck who's playing it if it sounds right. It is the music move you, and the music still moves you, then it's worth hearing. Do we wish Steinbach was there? Of course we do. Do we wish Vinny was there? Of course we do. But they're not. But that doesn't mean we can't still hear the music, and we can't still see the music being clear.
Estando ainda mais no tempo, vou falar um pouco do Atomkraft, que foi a sua primeira banda interessada em percussão, e aqui no Brasil muita gente conhece o Future Warriors, que foi lançado aqui inclusive. O que você lembra dessa época e que se você tem algum plano de revisitar algo dele no futuro?
Well, Atomkraft is interesting because Atomkraft is where I began my journey after seeing Motorhead and the Dickies, and I thought I want to do this fast. The Dickies were like so fast, and the Motorhead was so powerful. I wanted to like put all of that together and see what happened, and so I wanted it to be as loud as it could be and as fast as it could be. And it's quite funny listening. What I thought was fast then as to what's fast now was like, oh my God. But that was the beauty of the progression. The plant looks beautiful. The flower's starting to look beautiful. When it opens, it's amazing. And so that's kind of how the thing, it grew, and then it opened, and now it looks fantastic. So that's kind of how I saw it. But I think that I was demoing with Atomkraft from 79, late 79, 80. And then I moved to Canada in 83 to help my sister, who was studying as a nurse. And when I came back, I didn't have any money. I didn't have any job. I didn't have any instrument. But I thought, I want to make a band again, because I'd kind of stopped for a year. And so I went to NWOBHM Records and knocked on the door. I don't know what I was going to ask, but I knocked on the door. And a guy opened the door, and I said, hey, how you doing? And I knew who he was, and it was Kronos. It's Conrad. I said, you all right? And he was like, yeah, what are you doing? And I said, I'm trying to sell a guitar. I have this guitar, but I want a bass. I've got a bass, you could have my bass. I said, okay, I'll trade you. So we met. I gave him that, he gave me his bass, and there was his Black Flying V from the very first Hammersmith show. Yeah. It was shit. It was so bad. But I didn't care. It was a bass, and I needed a bass.
Man, but I like your vocals in Atomkraft from now. Really? Yeah, no, man. There's a difference. It's a tool.
Yes.
For me. It's like a great little vocals, man.
Brilliant. Well, a very young man sung on that. And I mean, that whole period was very quick, because I came back in 85 with nothing. And Conrad, we traded, so I had a bass. And he said, so who's in your band? I said, I need a drummer. I know a drummer. So I met his friend who drummed, So now I have a drummer. Abaddon said, there's a young guy who lives near me who plays great guitar. So I went to meet the kid. I went, great, you're the guitarist. And then we demoed Pour the Metal In demo. And then Dave Woods at NWOBHM Records listened to it, went, okay, make an album. And it all happened in 1 year, like in months from coming back from Canada, like going, what are you going to do? I went, I don't know. So when young people say, how should I said, you know, you don't need money, you don't need equipment, you just need the will to do it, and you will find a way to do it. And people may go, you're crazy, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. If that's who you are, you will do it. And I'm living proof of that. I said, you know, and I have a collection of guitars now. I have a collection of basses now. I don't worry about my bank account now. I don't rely on the band for my bank account because I'm smart. I actually work for a living. But all of those things I didn't have, I have too many of now. You know, but I started with none of them. Only the will to be there, to do it. Look, Max Cavalera plays a guitar with one less string. One less string. So he has 5 strings on a 6-string guitar. Why does he do that? Because he couldn't afford to buy a string when it broke. So he just played it like that. And now he now he can afford to buy it, but he doesn't buy it. Why? He's like, I didn't need it then. I don't need it now. The 6, fuck it. One string, you can play music. Do you know what I mean? And that's the important thing. You will find a way to make it happen. You keep that spirit with you. So, you know, don't look for someone to help you or do a favor because they won't. Maybe they won't lend you money. They won't give you equipment. They won't give you an opportunity. You just go out and take it. You take it for yourself. Yeah.
E voltando ainda mais no tempo, qual que é a origem do seu apelido, seu pseudônimo Demolition Man? Como que surgiu esse?
Yeah, the Demolition Man, that's interesting. Remember the name? Yes. Because sometimes, because you had chorus, Sabalon, muito obrigado. That's my put. Because people think I made the name up. But I didn't actually make the name up. We were playing a show, an Atomkraft show, and in the old days, just the show, it's during a live show, and in the old days, bands would all play solos. You'd have a drum solo. You know, so you'd go see your show, and then for 20 minutes you had to listen to the drummer going, okay, yeah, great. And then the guitarist, he'd play a solo. So everybody did that. And so we did that. You know, Venom did that, we did that. And so it was in the live show, time for my solo. So I run forward really quickly, start to play it, and there's no sound. I turn around and I pull all my equipment over. My leaves were up and it just smashed and all my valves were on fire. I was like, fuck. And so everybody ran on and was trying to put the fire out. And it just started to make me laugh. So I was just starting laughing with all this chaos and all this fire. And my guitarist, Steve White, Steve White, at the time, he went to the microphone and he said, ladies and gentlemen, the Demolition Man. And that was it. After that, everybody, that's how they go to me, and that's a Demolition Man. Don't lend him anything because he'll break it. They were like, they can give me a spoon in a restaurant and within minutes I'm eating, I bend the spoon. You know, I've had the spoon, I go, your spoon's bent. They go, what's wrong with you? I go, I don't know. I knock all these glasses until it's like accidental, not on purpose. So they're going, don't lend him anything. And I did a show we were doing a show not long after that. And with an American band. I won't name the American band. Yeah. It was 1982, 81, 82. And I didn't have my bass amp. So I didn't have a bass amp. I didn't own one and nobody would lend me one. But I said, let's go to the show anyway. So we go to the show, I go into the dressing room and one of the guys goes, I said, I just wondered if I could talk to your bass player. And one of the guys goes, aren't you that Demolition guy? And I was like, yeah. And he's going, right. And the bass player came in. I said, could I borrow your amplifier? Because I don't have an amplifier for the show. And he's like, yeah, no, because I've sound checked and I put it exactly how I want it. I said, I took a photo I'll take a photo, I'll write it down, and I'll put it exactly back like that. And he said, okay, you can borrow it as long as you don't change anything. I said, I promise. I went straight on stage and I changed all the tabs. And then the end one, so I put everything to 10. And then the end one, I tried to put it,
That shows the sound.
yeah, he had it like 3, 6.
E flat sound,
Yeah, I just went up, 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 up. But when I got to the end one, I went like that and I snapped the knob off. And I was like, fuck, so I threw it away. So we played the show. And when we finished the show, I said, we have to leave. We all got in the van and drove off. So I thought the guys are going to go nuts, yeah. Anyway, I was very wrong of me, but that was the Demolition Man.
Yeah.
And, you know, I used
The great name.
it's a good...
It's a nickname. Yeah, it's a fucking nickname, yeah.
But I've used him all the time because sometimes we have anxieties about ourselves and he is not anxious. So he's kind of my alter ego because Tony Dolan will listen and adhere to your rules and respect everything that you tell him he can and can't do. But the Demolition Man doesn't. When he goes on stage, it's his world and I'm free to express myself. And that's what I use him for, to get all my anger out, to get more of my anxieties out, and to be free, truly free, through music, you know?
To expose your emotions.
Transpose the emotions. Because, you know, they say, oh, we're free, we live in a free world, right? So you don't pay any bills, you can park your car wherever you want, you don't have to buy your food, you don't have to pay taxes, but you're free. But what bit is free then? To watch TV that you're paying for whenever you want? I mean, come on. When is true freedom? When you're at the show and we're playing a show. When we're playing whatever your favorite song is, Temples of Ice, Primeval, Witching Hour, what are you thinking about? You're thinking about your bills? You're thinking about what time you go to bed? Or what your boss said? What your wife wants? The dog, the cat? Fuck all. You're just free. That's when you're free. That's the moment. So it's in there all the time. So you get to let yourself go. Remember, you have to let yourself go. And that's what I do on stage. This is my true freedom. The one moment today I can be truly free is right now.
Só pra lembrar, eu acho... eu não sei se eu tô confundindo, mas eu acho que alguém do Tyson Dog tocou contigo.
Yeah, he was the one I was telling you about when I went to knock on the door at Neat. Yeah, and Kronos, he traded guitar for bass. And he said, who's in your band? I said, nobody, I don't have a band yet. I just have your bass guitar. And he said, I know a drummer, and it was Jed, because he just finished the Tyson Dog album and then left the band. And so I spoke to him and we got on so well. That was it. He was a drummer in Atomkraft.
I think to release the Tyson Dog album in Brazil for old stock, old rock brigade. Yeah, então the same records release the Atomkraft in Brazil.
Yes. Yeah. We did a box set with Sanctuary, which was amazing. I got to put demos on, old demos. You know, it was amazing. Back in the day, when we made demos, we'd send them out and one demo, he sent one demo out. And then people will, one cassette, yeah. So make a cassette, I'd send it to you, you do 20 copies for your friends. And so
The tape traders, yeah.
yeah, but every time you did a copy, it sounded worse. So by the time you had 20th copy of that demo, it was kind of hard to listen to. But that's what we used to do. That's how we got our music. The first tour with Exodus with Paul Baloff, and we met in London.
From those, yeah?
Yeah, and we met in London, and Paul Baloff came to me and he said, Tony. I was like, oh, how do you know me? And he said, the Atomkraft demo. He said, my friend. And they arrived in London, and we drove down to London, and I met Paul Baloff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he came and introduced himself to me straight away, and I was like, how do you know me? He said, because you're Atomkraft. Yeah. He said, I have your demo, the Total Nail demo. And I was like, how had you got that demo? Because it didn't register to me that I would send it to New York. I did copy it and send it to people. I didn't think about that. And so I was saying, well, you live in California. I'm from Newcastle. How have you got this demo? Yeah,
Completely different.
yeah. But we became very good friends on that tour. And I still remain friends with Rick Hunold and Gary Holt. You know, we're still friends from that time because we were just young men and they'd never been to Europe. And we drank lots of beer and visited lots of ladies and had some great fun there.
A música que vocês faziam na época, você acha muito diferente? Vocês ali em Newcastle, como você falou há pouco, né? Tava lá em Newcastle, o ex dos Slayer, Metallica, nos Estados Unidos. Apesar de que o Venom influenciou todas essas bandas, mas você achava que essas músicas eram diferentes também para todo mundo?
Well, I think the thing is that most of the thrash thing came out of the new wave of British heavy metal. So, you know, Laws was a big exponent of that. So was James, and of course Dame was there, and so they were listening to Diamond Heads and
Diamond Head, yeah, so Diamond Head,
and all Blitzkrieg.
it's all fresh from Metallica, yeah.
Yes, and lots of the music that they were inspired by, Raven and stuff, all came from Newcastle. So we were that was all happening to us as young people, and we didn't have record deals and we didn't have managements and stuff. We were just bands playing. But once Neat Records started making records, and London Records and the other independent records, Brian Slagle in particular, and John Zazula with Megaforce, they were bringing the imports in. And then you had like John Zazula's shop in New Jersey. The most people who were regulars in his shop was Scott Ian, Dan Lilka, Bobby Blitz, all of those bands that became Overkill, Nuclear Assault, MOD.
You have contact too with people?
Yes, yeah, because we were just kids at the same time. We were all making bands and music at the same time. There was no scene. We were just kids making bands. It became something. But they were all, you know, in Slagle shop, you know, Jet Hanneman would be going in there, Kerry King, Laws would be in there. So, and they had an idea to do compilations. So they had both decided, why don't we make a compilation record? And all these kids who are coming in saying they're in a band, we'll put them on there. And all of a sudden, boom, you have Metal Blade and Megaforce, and thrash metal went bang. And so thrash metal was to America, California, what new wave of British heavy metal was to the UK. And I think Venom was special because they blended Black Sabbath to the Satanic with Kiss, put it together, and people were like, what the fuck's that? Again, you know, another step in evolution, because we didn't have money, so we couldn't have pyrotechnics, we couldn't have all of that stuff, and so Venom created that, so we couldn't do that. Oh, we can do that too. We never thought we could do that as well. So yeah, everybody began to go, wow, everything's possible. And look at it now, incredible.
Tu falaste há pouco que as coletâneas que eram lançadas com as bandas também foi responsável por apresentar várias coisas e tal. E quem era você quando era um garoto, um jovem headbanger, e você ainda se acha ainda um novo headbanger, apesar de tanto tempo na estrada?
Well, I think that the compilations were great because it meant that you could hear the whole point was to try and listen to new music. You know, I have that first Carnivore demo, you know, long before Pit Steel, Type O. I have demos of bands that became, you know, Cryptic Slow, Destruction, the Hellhammer, you know, they all became these icons now. And I had done it, but I think compilations meant that once the people could feel there was something happening, the compilations meant you could buy one record because it was expensive and we didn't have a lot of money, but I could buy one record, but I had 10 bands. I could listen to 10 bands on one record. So, and if I had a favorite, or if I liked one of them, I could maybe buy that album from them, and so it's been. So I think that the compilations were like tape tradings, but in a compact way. You can get a sample of 20 bands, you know, and a lot of them magazines still put samplers on the front, which are like introducing new music.
Research in the magazine.
Yeah, and I think it's so important because you're introducing new fans to music they might miss. When so much music is released, it's easy to miss so much. So I love the compilations. I still have the first Metal Blade compilation, the first Megafor,
Metal Massacre compilation.
Metal Massacre, the Metal Massacre series. And then we did a series with Music for Nations. They did a series with Speed Fields. Speed Fields. I mean, there's some great stuff. We were on there, we featured on there, but there's some great stuff on there. Yeah, exactly. You know, those were valuable. You know, it's because you had all those bands together. So your record collection, you might have had 5 or 6 albums, but you had like 30, 40 bands on those, which is really important.
Yeah. But you remember the first release, the first band for you. Yeah.
Okay, so this is my story. So in 1978, I discovered a band called The Dickies. I was into punk rock. I walked into a record store like this.
And a punk rock story. Yeah.
No, it was just a record store.
Yeah.
But I walk into a record store and they used to put the 45-inch singles because they were color vinyl became popular. So they would put them up on the wall. And I walked in and there was a pink, candy pink vinyl.
Yeah.
And I just saw this thing. I went, can I have that? And they went, do you want to listen to it? I went, no. And they went, oh, you like the Dickies? I went, I've got no idea, but I've never seen anything before. So I took it home. Like, what the fuck is this? And I put it on. It was Evil Destruction and Doggy Doo. There was a single, Evil Destruction, Doggy Doo by the Dickies. And I put it on. And from the opening chord, which was Feedback, I just fell in love. I thought, this band. So I went back to the record store the next day, said, that band, the Dickies, is there an album? Oh, they're bringing, the first album comes out next week. Could you save it for me? Yeah, I'll save it for you. And I bought, it was the Incredible Shrinking Dickies. And I put it on, and the first song I heard, it was played at 220 beats a minute. And I was like, what the? I was like, oh my God. And then,
completely different research listening in.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? I fell in love with it. And then I saw them, they came to tour. 2 months later, they were in Newcastle. And I went to see them, got the record signed. I still have it, signed by them. And they're on the same agent as me now. So that I'm on the same agency as the Dickies, which still blows my mind. But yeah, I got my record signed. And then 2 weeks after that, so 2 weeks after getting my record signed, I go to a show and to see a punk band, and they're opening for another band I'd never heard of. And I go backstage, I'm drinking beer underage, and the main singer goes, Tony, you should see this band. I said, I don't know who they are. And he went, yeah, but they're pretty cool. We heard them in Soundcheck. I said, what kind of music? He was, it's kind of punk. All right, what do they look like? He said, well, they got long hair, leather jackets. And I thought, fuck, is it? Look, it's a bit of bass. I say, I play a bunch of rocky band. Yeah, and I was like, I don't want to listen to fucking that. And they went, no, they're kind of punk. Okay, I go back into the menu, doing it, the lights come on, and it's Motorhead. Dude. And I was like,
it's Newcastle.
Yeah. It was Eddie, Phil, and Lemmy, and I was like, through the whole show, like, what the fuck? And when I left, my world had changed. And I thought, oh my God, this is your life. Changed my life. And I thought, what if I took the Dickies and Motorhead, like that sound and that speed, what would happen? So that, for me, that's when my extreme metal was born. Right there, right that moment, was like, wow. And still, even I'm telling you, the hairs on my arms are standing up, and you know, it was such a magical moment. And I want to be the person who gives that magical moment to somebody else. I want a 14-year-old in my audience to go, oh my God, I have to do that. That's what I want. And maybe I have, you know, when I say to people, you don't know when you play, the next James Hetfield is in your audience. The next Max Cavalera is out there somewhere, or Jimi Hendrix or Richie Blackmore. You will never know that they're in your audience until 40 years' time. when they go, the first concert that changed my life was that one. I said, so every show should be special. Put everything you have into every show because you don't know who's in there and who's going to walk away with a changed life. And that's what's important.
Você me contou uma curiosidade mais cedo que me deixou surpreso. Você chegou a tocar um tempo, quebrar um galho, vamos dizer assim, para o DFSS da Itália. Como foi essa experiência?
Well, we didn't play as a band per se, but DFSS, Steve Sylvester in particular, is an old friend, and Freddie DeLeo also, and so we go back from like the Bulldozer days, you know, AC Wild, and because that was the Italian scene. Yeah, yeah, and so it's a great person, a great person, very good friend. We just played together recently for Necrodeath. Italian death metal band. That's you. That's it. Yeah, this year. Yes, no, December. Yeah, December there. They did their final show ever, and they invited me and Bulldozer to come down. So I went to Milan and we played a show together, which was thank you. A new ice. Yes, new ice. Temples of Ice. So yeah, so AC did Whiskey Time, and then I got up with the rest of Bulldozer and played some Venom songs, which was amazing. But yeah, Steve, I just think Steve's an incredible artist. He's a bit like Glenn Danzig, you know, misunderstood in a lot of ways. Tom Fisher, incredible artists. They're like musical Andy Warhols to me. See? Yeah, yeah, they just creatively somewhere else, and I love Steve for that. And yeah, and I did when COVID, you know, when the pandemic happened, I wanted to do something to raise money for an Italian hospital for children. It was very early in the pandemic, and this hospital was struggling financially. So I thought, what can I do? So I did a tribute to Black Sabbath. The record, Sabatonero, which is, and I call it Il Lume del Ferro, which means Iron Man in Italian. And I call it Sabatonero, Black Sabbath. And I wanted to get guests on. So I had Marty Freeman on, John Gallagher, obviously. I had people from Diamond Head, and I got Steve from Death SS, Mantis, a player, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Yeah, I got Wally on that from Sacred Reich, and I got people from Obituary. I got Terry from Suffocation to play solo. Prika from Navosa plays Killing Yourself to Live. Maya Tapere, Mayara Poet, she also sings on Killing Yourself to Live. I'll give you the links afterwards so you can have a listen. But they did amazing songs. And so I wanted to take from all of the genres, from as many countries as I could, and put them on this record. And it turned out superb. And so Steve, because Steve was on there, Freddie DeLeo from Death SS. So it was a coming together of our friendship. And we did Symptom of the Universe. I did a version of that with Rasmus Bon Anderson singing, who is now in Diamond Head, and Marty Friedman playing the solo. And Marty Friedman playing a solo, yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. And even when I listened to it in the studio, I was like, fuck, it's so good. And then people were criticizing it, you know, and I said, well, it's for charity, it's raising money. But people go, yeah, but this version and that version. And then I opened up my Twitter at the time, and there was Geezer Butler, because I sent Geezer, Ozzy, and Tony copies and said, listen, this is my small tribute. Some people are from death metal, some people are from black metal, but I wanted to show you that you influenced everybody, and they all tribute you, and this is raising money for charity. And when I opened up my Twitter, Geezer Butler had a picture of the single, Symptom of the Universe, and said, this is my favorite Sabbath song I ever wrote, and this is the best version I've ever heard. And I thought, I don't care if everybody tells me how shit it is, it means nothing when you have Geezer Butler saying that. Yeah. amazing.
Excuse me, falei em português. Não tem como não encerrar isso, mas assim, como vocês percebem a influência da música inglesa para todos os estilos, né? Tipo, Black Sabbath, influência DFS, né? E todas as outras bandas de metal também. E até voltando, né, a música pop, Beatles, Oasis e tal. Vocês percebem que a música inglesa ela é tão forte quanto a música feita lá nos Estados Unidos, apesar de que o Rolling Stones foi formado através de uma influência de Moon the Waters?
I would say the thing, and I was raised, my father was into rock and roll. So the early records I listened to were Eddie Cochran and Elvis, of course. And my favorite was Bill Haley and the Comets. And then I got into Motown, because my mum kind of like crossover stuff. I started listening to Motown. I loved Motown. And then, of course, England became glam metal. So that was like Slade and the Sweets and all the latest. Yeah, I mean, legendary stuff. And then I moved to Canada, and I was introduced to Kiss, Jack Nugent, Journey, Aerosmith, and I was like, oh. And then I came back to England, right when the Sex Pistols had just exploded, and it was a clash, a UK Souls, yeah. So I didn't see it at the time, but when I look, with your question, when I look in reflection, I can see my musical journey just by listening, where I first heard rock and roll, where you came from the Delta blues, came from Hooker and Blind Melon and all of that, and Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and I hear all of that coming across and going all the way through the Stones, the Beatles, and then Eddie Cochran, all of that stuff progressing into there, and significantly, and you think the Sex Pistols, when Sid left the Sex Pistols, what was his first single? My Way.
Away from Exxxterna. That I sing a funeral of my father.
Oh, really? Really?
Away. That's drive for fine. Yeah.
And they did a single on the Great Rock and Roll single, and Sid's single was "Come On Everybody," a rock and roll song from Eddie Cochran from the 50s. So that was punk rock. So if you're looking, where does the connection go? Well, that's where it is. That's where it is. Listen to even on Kashmir, but listen to rock and roll. Listen to what Jimmy Page is playing. I mean, it's called rock and roll. And he's playing an open 12 bar, leaking there. I mean, we never moved that far away from it. And if you think, then the biggest Venom album, black metal, right? Well, listen to Teacher's Pet. It's got a blues break in it. It's got blues. So, how far have we come from the source? Not very far. We just made it louder, more aggressive, more intense. But we can't get away from the source. We can't get away from where the source is, because that's what excites us. And, there's only 12 notes. We only have 12 notes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you think there's only 12 notes in a scale, and look at what you can do with it. Look at all these CDs, all these bands. And this is like nothing compared to what is available. And every year there's another couple of 100,000 pieces of music come out. And we've still got the same 12 part, but people, I love that creativity. It's amazing. Yeah.
Nós vamos encerrar essa entrevista aqui várias vezes e muito obrigado. Só duas curiosidades. O primeiro disco que eu ouvi do Venom foi o Words with Satan, né? Foi lançado no Brasil várias vezes. Foi lançado da primeira turnê com o Venom, com outra formação, foi muito esquisito. E a primeira vez que ele ouviu o Venom foi contigo no vocal.
Well, I'd like to say thank you so much for having me here and for doing this interview, which I absolutely love. Thank you guys, and I hope to see us next time I shall see you in December only, or January or February. But just keep Brazil nice and beautiful for me, and I'll see you when I'm back. But let me just say that this is an example of what I was talking about. The first record you heard was Not Welcome to Hell. It was a What Was It? That is 3 records in. The one you heard is 10 years later. But we still share. We still
Totally a compilation, yeah. Listen to a compilation.
see, no. But we still share that. And if this show that we just played, if a 16-year-old person thinks that that was great and hadn't heard it before, but wanted to come just to see, I went, wow, it goes out and buys the last Venom Inc album, There's Only Black, but then discovers everything else. That's amazing. That's like finding a gold mine. I have one nugget here, but if I keep digging, and that's what you're doing, it doesn't matter where you find it, and that's a perfect example. So thank you so much, and you honored me by doing this, and I really appreciate it.
You thank you so very fucking much to dedicate the little time for yours. Quero experimentar alguma coisa?
I don't have to thank you so much to spend your time with us.
Well, I enjoyed it immensely, and I just want to say, for everybody out there listening as well, it's easy to be a dickhead, but it's much nicer not to be. So thank you for the compliment.
Great man. Thank you, man. Thank you. How come and again, forever and again to Brazil.
I don't mind. If you can find me, if you can find me a Brazilian wife, then
Estate Carnival. Estate Carnival. Prolonged time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Come to
Enjoy
live-
Carnival, yes.
Come to live to Brazil.
I will. I promise, yeah.
Thank you forever, man.
No, thank you guys.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you again. Thank you again.
Obrigado, Gustavo. Valeu todo mundo que acompanhou a entrevista aí, ó. Tem todos os links. Siga a gente nas nossas redes sociais. Deixe suas perguntas. Compartilhe também esse vídeo. Deixe chegar a todo mundo aí. This is a Demolition Man. Stay louder.
Thank you.